good night, sweet dreams. That's what my dad would say to me. But sometimes I had trouble falling asleep. Then he would tell me stories about his travels. I want this tradition to live on. So now, let me share my stories with you. The olive tree's narrow leaves cast rippling shadows across the red and white checkered tablecloth in front of me. Dappled light dancing playfully across the pattern of squares. The cool air is filled with a gentle rustling of branches and the songs of early morning birds. I gaze out across the cobblestone courtyard of this fattoria, the old Tuscan farmhouse I've called home for the past week. The farm sits on top of a slight hill, which grants me an excellent view over the valleys and other hills around us, covered in lush vineyards and olive groves. A light haze blankets the landscape, tinted with the bright gold of the early sun. In the distance, cypress trees rise through the mist like quiet sentinels guarding the tranquil landscape. I lean back in my deck chair and take a deep breath. The aromatic wood of the olive trees mingles with the crisp floral freshness of orange trees dotting the landscape. Sweet lavender, growing in earthen pots around the courtyard, adds its calming scent to the mix. The fresh morning breeze carries a hint of autumn despite the summer season. But the strongest scent of all is the warm, hearty smell of the fresh ciabatta resting on the table in front of me. This is my breakfast, a piece of this wonderfully airy bread that I dip into a dish of local olive oil, seasoned with just a bit of salt and pepper. The moment I laid eyes on this farmhouse, a sanctuary rising among the rolling hills, I completely fell in love with it. And despite the short time I've been here, I feel like I've lived here my entire life. Everything feels so cozy and dear to me. The weathered stone walls with their soft yellows and oranges, a beautiful contrast to the wild vines that climb up them. The asymmetrical terracotta-colored roofs of the winery and the olive mill. And of course, my friendly hosts. On my first day here, Giuseppe explained to me that he's lived in these hills all his life. His family has been here for more generations than he knows, pressing olives into oil, grapes into wine, and fruits into jam. He gave me a tour of the grounds and introduced me to everyone we passed. His parents and siblings, their cousins and partners and children. They started renting out unused rooms a few years ago to guests like me, who long for a place where they can rest, far away from the hustle and bustle of tourist-packed cities like Florence and Pisa. And when it comes to resting, I couldn't have picked a better spot. For several days now, I've barely moved from this chair, content to lounge in the shade of the olive and orange trees with some fresh snacks and a book. But today, I've planned a trip to the nearby town of Bolgheri to replenish my supply of air-dried salami and other delicacies, as well as to stretch my legs a bit. Excited for the day ahead, I pack myself into the little Italian car I've rented. It's the perfect size for leisurely drives around the beautiful landscape of Tuscany. The motor purrs reassuringly as I make my way down the asphalt road, snaking in broad curves through the lush vineyards. Hardly any cars come my way. I roll down the windows and let the summer winds rush through. Shortly before reaching town, I drive onto the famous boulevard of cypresses, the Viale dei Cipressi. It stretches on as far as I can see, a straight line that rises and falls with the hills, with tall candle-shaped evergreens towering on either side of the road. The breeze carries the tree's sharp scent to me, and the golden light of the morning sun peeks through the branches to create swaying stripes across the asphalt. I can't believe how high these mighty trunks reach, standing guard on either side of me. I recall a famous poem written by the Italian poet Giosuè Carducci about this very boulevard. Giuseppe translated it for me. The cypresses by Bolgheri, tall and outspoken, come from San Guido in double rows. Almost like young giants racing, they leap to meet and watch me. And indeed, like young giants, they stand by the roadside and watch me, waving at me, quietly inviting me to stop and spend some time with them. But the straight road beckons me onwards, until I pass by the last trees and emerge at the old stone wall that encloses Bolgheri. I park off the side of the road, since cars aren't allowed in this town. A few vehicles already stand there, lazily waiting for their drivers. On foot, I stroll up to Bolgheri Castle, a large rectangular building made of red bricks that is built into the town walls, with one tall tower that marks the entrance to town. I pass through the grand archway that acts as Bolgheri's gate and amble down the narrow streets to the town center. I have a destination in mind, but I'm in no rush to reach it. Instead, stopping here and there to take in the sights, sounds, and scents. In front of many buildings, large terracotta pots hold lush plants, deep red hibiscus bushes, delicate fig trees with their big floppy leaves, and, of course, gnarled little olive trees. They create a delightful contrast to the stone facades of the houses, some of which consist only of rough fieldstone, while others are plastered and painted a light orangey beige. Most of the windows have colorful wooden shutters, which have been closed to keep the heat of the day out of the rooms. I'm tempted by some of the stores I pass, particularly the enotecas, charming little wine shops selling bottles of the intense ruby red wines that are made in this region. I can only hold myself back because I know that I already have some of my favorite sassicaia waiting for me at the farmhouse. After a few more turns, I see my target delicatessen shop. I've already been here twice in the past week, but I just can't seem to stay away. Goods are stacked up on the sidewalk, to the left and right, and even in front of the low, rounded doorway. Wooden crates and woven baskets filled with pasta in all shapes and sizes, cartons of fiery red chilies, boxes of dried garlic, and shelves of olive oil and red wine. And finally, a weathered wooden sign with the shop's name, nailed to the wall next to the door. I duck through the doorway into the stone sales room, which is pleasantly cool after the increasing summer heat outdoors. The owner stops arranging cheeses in the glass display of a counter to give me a warm greeting, then laughs when she recognizes me. She welcomes me back and gestures to a small bowl of black olives on the counter, urging me to try some. I do, of course, and I'm blown away by how rich and tangy they taste. We continue to chat as she returns to sorting her cheeses and I look around the shop. Huge pink hams hang from the ceiling next to bunches of dried herbs. The walls are all covered in shelves which are bursting with jars of sweet and savory spreads, bottles of oils and spices, and boxes of homemade pasta. In the middle of the store is a table, weighed down with piles of cured meats, baskets of breadsticks, and bags of cookies. As always, I have to restrain myself from buying out the entire store. In the end, I settle for a healthy supply of air-dried fennel salami with coarse peppercorns, half a wheel of Parmigiano, and a jar of black olive tapenade. Thinking about eating these with the fresh ciabatta back at the farmhouse makes my stomach rumble. I say a friendly goodbye to the owner and wander down the street to find lunch. A small cafe with green shuttered windows calls to me, the vines and roses climbing up its plastered walls seeming like a perfect respite from the midday sun. I settle myself on the terrace, relaxing beneath a big white umbrella. I lean back in my green iron chair and admire the curling leafy pattern on the matching table. A waiter takes my order, a small tray of bread and meat and an espresso. And then I can stretch out my legs and enjoy the lively Italian chatter around me. The assortment of cured meats I receive is perfect, but it's the espresso that truly convinces me that I will have to come back here. I heap a small spoonful of brown sugar into my cup, stirring it in after it sinks down through the thick crema. With my first sip, I'm unexpectedly flooded with memories of a trip to Florence many years ago. I close my eyes and see the images pass by as if I was currently there. An evening walk along the bank of the Arno, admiring the intricate architecture of the Uffizi, echoing footsteps on the marble floor, and then a sudden thunderstorm, which I took refuge from in a small cafe nearby, where I drank an unforgettably delicious espresso, one that tasted exactly like the one in my hand now. For the rest of my meal, I happily reminisce about my past trip to this region. The beautiful gardens, the old streets and buildings, the colorful sunsets. When I re-emerge from my memories, I'm ready to continue making wonderful experiences on my current trip and look forward to one day reminiscing on this one too. I promise myself to come back here before I leave Italy and have another cup. Then I head out to carry on with my day. I'm already back in my car, driving through the boulevard of cypresses again, when I spontaneously decide to take a detour to the beach. The Tyrrhenian Sea is very close, only 15 minutes away from Bolgheri. As I drive, the sprawling wind-tossed pine trees gradually break away and open up to a horizon of pure blue. The salty sea breeze wafts over me, mixing with the earthy scents of the trees and bushes that line the street. I park next to a small sandy path and leave my socks and shoes in the car to stroll down to the beach barefoot. The coarse sand, heated by the rays of the sun, massages the soles of my feet. It's almost too warm, and I sigh in relief when I reach the waterline and can let the cool waves soothe my skin. And for a while, I stay standing there, with my eyes closed, just breathing, existing. The wind blows gently past me, ruffling my shirt and my hair, carrying the quiet roar of distant waves to me. The seawater rises and falls, up and down my legs, calming my pulse and my breath. The sand draws me in, creating little nests for my feet that balance and ground me. Everything around me confirms, as if in a chorus of nature, you are here. I open my eyes to watch the waves for a while, feeling completely at peace. Eventually, I extract my feet from their sand pockets and start walking along the edge of the water. The crystal clear turquoise sea sprawls to my left, and the densely wooded foothills of the Etruscan coast form a wall of green on my right. My feet leave soft imprints in the sand for just a few moments, until the water rushes in and washes them away again. I keep walking at a leisurely pace. With each step, the soothing rush of the waves settles deeper into my bones. I think, pleasantly, that in the face of such nature, all the big worries in life stop existing. Here and now, I simply am, together with the land and the sea. By the time I turn around to return to my car, the sun is beginning to set, and I'm treated to the most wonderful display of colors. The light blue of the sky has turned almost purple, accented by clouds of deep red. Closer to the horizon, the purple fades first into pink, then a soft yellow, and finally into a thick stripe of vibrant orange. In the middle of all this, the sun projects a white beacon into the sky, visible as a sort of zigzag behind the clouds. From my parking space, I watch the last sliver of sun disappear before heading home in the ambience of dusk. I drive back past the cypresses, now dark silhouettes against the purples and blues of the dimming sky. They greet me like old friends, like protective sentinels guiding my way home. After a light dinner with Giuseppe and some of his family, I settle back into my deck chair under the olive tree with a glass of velvety red sassicaia. My whole body still vibrates with the rhythm of my steps and the waves, and my skin tingles in memory of the sun's heat. I feel exhausted from the long walk, but it's a peaceful exhaustion, as if the wind and sea have washed away all my concerns. I take a sip of my wine and close my eyes, enjoying the rich taste and the heavy feeling it leaves me with. There's a hum in the air, the songs of nightingales, accompanied by a chorus of crickets. The olive and orange trees and the lavender seem to form a new medley of scents here in the cooling darkness of nightfall. I can feel the night getting colder, but I'm warmed by the wine and the long hours I spent in the sun. When I start to notice myself drifting off, I finish the last drops in my glass and take a moment to gaze up at the stars. Then I head down the gravel path to my room. I open the window and the shutters wide, letting in the cool breeze and the sounds of the night. With a satisfied sigh, I climb into bed and sink into the lavender-scented sheets. What a day! As I drowsily look forward to tomorrow, I feel like the waves of the Tyrrhenian Sea are gently rocking me. Images of the waves rise and morph into gigantic cypresses. They cradle me and sing quietly to me until I fully fall asleep.